Imagine this. You have two different pictures of your body, but they're taken months apart. Now, what if the first picture held the secret to predicting what the second one would show? Well, that's the medical detective story we're exploring today. And this whole idea brings up a really fascinating question, right? Can we actually see a storm brewing inside the body, not while it's happening, but months before it even hits? Our story centers on two scans from a single patient. First, you've got this one from October 2025. It's an unconventional thing called a quantum check. Then, fast forward to February 2026, and we have a standard CT scan. That 4-month gap between them, that's the real key to this whole mystery. Okay, so to really get why this is so important, we need a little context. We're talking about a 59-year-old woman with a serious diagnosis, metastatic lung adenocarcinoma. And the big question for her was pretty simple. Was her treatment actually working? So let's rewind back to that first scan in October 2025. I want you to think of these data points not as a final diagnosis, but more like subtle early warnings. Like whispers from different systems in the body that something was off. The very first clue came from the lungs. The quantum data showed this mild abnormality in airway resistance. The best way to think about it is like trying to breathe through a slightly narrowed straw. It's a sign that the lungs were already working harder long before a traditional scan could show us why. Next up, we get a flag from the skeletal system. This osteoporosis coefficient came in at 4.858, just a little outside the normal range. Now this, along with some other markers, was a really early sign of stress on the bones, a quiet but persistent little alarm bell. And here's a really critical piece of the puzzle. The heart's oxygen consumption was way up at 5.897, well above the normal limit. To put it simply, the heart was basically sprinting when it should have been jogging. A hidden but pretty serious sign of strain. So you see, these weren't just a bunch of random numbers. When you put them all together, they started to form a map that was clearly pointing to struggles in the respiratory, skeletal, and circulatory systems. Okay, now let's jump forward those 4 months to February 2026. This is the moment where all those early whispers we heard are about to become shouts. The source material really says it best. That first quantum check wasn't just noise. It was a biological map that actually predicted where the CT would eventually find trouble. That's a bold claim for sure. So, did the evidence back it up? Well, here's the answer, laid out side by side. Remember that high airway resistance from October? Boom, the CT scan confirmed worsening lung lesions. Those abnormal bone markers? The CT found a brand new sclerotic, that just means hardened lesion in the hip. And the high immune stress? The CT confirmed lymphangitic spread, which means the cancer had started moving through the lymph system. The connection it's just undeniable. So those early warnings weren't just some vague hints. In area after area, they were confirmed by one of the most powerful diagnostic tools we have in modern medicine. The map led directly to the territory. So, what do you even do with this kind of information? This is where the whole story pivots, because knowing the map allows for a completely different kind of strategy, one that shifts from just defending against a tumor to going on the offensive for the entire body. The core idea here is called enlarging the territory. So instead of just fighting the tumor, the goal is to strengthen the body's internal terrain. Think of it like improving the soil in a garden to make it way harder for weeds to grow in the first place. And this table right here shows that new strategy in action. For every single problem area, there's a proactive plan. For the lungs, the focus is on bringing down inflammation. For the heart, it's about lowering its workload. For the bones, it's all about supporting density. And for the metabolic system, it's about supporting the gut and liver to really boost that immune system. It's a truly comprehensive battle plan. And this brings us to the most important part of all. What happens next? Based on all this analysis, there are really two possible paths forward. On the left, with the supportive, territory-enlarging intervention, the projection is positive. We're talking tumor markers trending down, the nodule stabilizing, and quality of life likely improving. But on the right, the status quo suggests the opposite. Markers trend up, the nodule grows, and respiratory function could actually decline. The contrast here couldn't be more stark. But there's already a really hopeful sign. The patient's appetite has returned.
And that might sound small, but it's the first tangible piece of evidence that she's starting to reclaim her internal terrain and turning this new map into her new reality.
You know, a single case like this raises a massive question. What if the future of health isn't just about treating a disease after it shows up? What if it's really about learning how to map the body's future before it even gets here?